am Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Police Update. And today, Police Update is actually a two-parter. First, we get to meet Deputy Chief Jeff Crowley from the Palos Heights Police Department with us today, and get to talk to you about your job in the department, your career path here. And then we're going to do a second-part conversation with you where we'll actually talk about some scams that people should be watching out for.
That sounds good.
Okay, thank you for coming in. So let's talk about the first part, and I do want to hear, Deputy Chief, and obviously you had a whole career to get there, so we want to talk about that. I think first, if we could begin, maybe could you tell us, how did you get into law enforcement, and what was the inspiration for you to head down that road?
Yeah, so I'm not the typical. No one in my family prior to me has been in law enforcement. Actually, my first thought was going to go into federal law enforcement. One of my high school friends, his father was in federal law enforcement, so going through him, I had actually an internship. I went to Illinois State University, got a degree in criminal justice. Part of the program was to do an internship for a semester. I had an internship set up with the federal agency. Then out of nowhere, they put a freeze on, so and then my
find a job.
I had to find a job. I had to find an internship to graduate. So I was lucky enough to get an internship with the Orland Park Police Department.
Oh.
And even at that time, I thought, great, just still a means to get my degree. But I did that for 3 months, and then learned more about local law enforcement. So that's really what got me into local law enforcement. Law enforcement in general, I kind of had an idea I wanted to do since high school, but local law enforcement was my internship through Orland Park.
Okay, and so that experience must have been very positive for you, because it was...
It was. I grew up in Tinley Park, so I'm from the area generally. So yeah, it was positive, getting to know people, getting over some of the stereotypes and things you see and hear. Again, not having any personal knowledge or experience with friends or family in law enforcement, it kind of hit like a personal tone with me, like, individual.
Right.
So
yeah, probably getting to know the community, the people in the community, I'm guessing, is part of it.
Exactly,
right?
And to see what they really did. Like you have these maybe preconceptions or these ideas, what you think from TV or whatever, but when you get a real view of what they do, it was impactful to me.
You're kind of getting to my second question, but I do want to ask one other thing first. Like, what does that day look like? So when did you come to Palos Heights, and how did that move happen?
So
and how long have you been here?
I'm starting my 28th year in January.
Wow.
So I've been here 27 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's going by fast, believe me. No, I was really lucky to come here. I actually, as a young person coming out of college, I was testing in the area. I actually was in the academy for the Mokina Police Department when Palos Heights called. It's an ironic story. I maybe take this a little bit too literal, but I was on a midnight shift with my training officer one night. We were just talking, and just out of the blue, he just mentioned he had been an officer there for many years. But even at that point in his career, he said if he had the chance to go to one police department, it would be Palos Heights.
Really?
So
wow.
I kind of took that as some kind of divine intervention. So I continued the process with Palos Heights. They called, luckily, offered me the job. So I left Mokina to come here. And as far as I'm concerned, it's been a great decision. It worked out well for me.
I was going to say congratulations to you, but also thankful for us that we've had here that it has that reputation, that obviously you've brought your experience and expertise and your guidance here. So thank you. So, and maybe you talked about that a little bit, but I would say the inspiration to go into law, it sounds like you had that vision, even though contrary to like maybe what your background was at home or where people were headed. But so now you've landed here, and you've been doing it for a long time. Can you give us like a little inside glimpse of what does it look like, a typical day for you, or maybe over the course of a week? What does that job look like?
So in my new role, so I've been a deputy chief for about 18 months almost now. So I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I have good people next door helping me with Chief Chakowski, and but the typical. So I'm the deputy chief of operations. We have the chief of police, and then we have two deputy chiefs. I'm the deputy chief of operations. We have a deputy chief of administration. So I'm the day-to-day operations commander. I'm in charge of patrol, their duties. I'm in charge of the training, which now with all these mandates we're required to do. That's me, coordinate all that. The police vehicles, equipment. Personnel, we share, myself and the other deputy chief, Mike Yacht. I mean, it's a small place. We do. I'm not doing it all myself. He helps me quite a bit.
You help each other.
Exactly, and it also helps us. Like I get to learn some of his job, he gets to learn some of mine, so it's good.
So and maybe you're not that person, but I had this image of like what we see on TV where there's like a meeting you know, with the officers and somebody's,
So like the roll call, yeah.
doing the roll call and like, these are the issues out there we're dealing with or things we should be looking for. Are you part of that process?
So
somewhere?
that's usually our sergeants, our patrol sergeants.
Okay.
So whatever we could take in, whether it's through the administration, through mandates or training we need to accomplish, or things the chief hears from the city that we need to get done, or whether it's from our detectives, from crimes they're seeing, or just stuff the officers are seeing on the street, that all gets pushed down to the patrol sergeants, and then they handle that, their roll call. So at the beginning of every shift, they meet, they talk, and the sergeant will say, hey, this is what came down from up front, or this is what the detectives told us to be looking out for. So they kind of are in charge of more getting it out to the patrol officers, because that's their responsibility. But
okay, so you're maybe not the right word to call you like a filter, but you're going to collect information. You're going to know what procedures they need to be aware of, or state mandates, or new equipment they're getting.
Yes.
And then that'll get shared with the sergeant, who will then.
Yes. Yeah. So the training and mandates and stuff, I would schedule all that, or if an officer wants a training, they'll come through their sergeant, come to me and ask, and then we'll collectively get it scheduled or get it on the book, something like that.
Okay.
I'm more of, I guess, what you would call, maybe not the chief is the CEO, but like and it's just the patrol. There's a patrol function. If you have a speeding complaint, that might come through me. They'll send me an email, and then I'll put it on the schedule for the radar sign or something like that. So I'm more facilitator, I guess, would be the best thing.
All right. Well, I'm picturing the organizational structures that, like, you have a CEO, but maybe a presidents of divisions.
Exactly.
You're okay.
Yes.
All right. You want to turn away from the day-to-day grind, and let's get to know you a little differently here?
Oh, sure.
You ready for the lightning
why
round?
not?
All right. How about when you were little, in grade school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, that was easy. I wanted to be a pilot.
A pilot?
Yeah. I actually went to Lewis University my first semester freshman year.
Really?
I finished my ground school. I had some hours. I have a sister that's a year younger than me, so when it came to paying for flight school, that was was a pretty daunting thing. So
were you thinking about commercial, like United?
Originally,
or
that's
Delta,
what just get my license, go from there. I actually thought about going in the military once I couldn't pay for my own flight time anymore.
Yeah.
I thought about signing up for the military and having them do it. But again, it didn't work out. But that's what I always wanted to do as a kid. Yeah.
All right. Little Jeff Crowley wanted to be a pilot.
Yes.
All right. How about this? Going on vacation, or maybe it's a hobby or something like that. How do you recharge?
As I'm getting older, it takes a lot more time to recharge. But I've always liked golf. I've never been good at it, never had the time with our shift work to do a lot of it. I'm starting to get into it more now.
Are you?
And I really enjoy that. So that's probably number one. And then like just traveling. I have two sons. One graduated college last year. He now lives in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
So traveling, going down to see
travel.
him. Exactly.
Sure.
My other son's away at school too, so we're kind of empty nesters. But just traveling, and my wife works full time, so we like both get away.
All right, well, good. I hope you get to enjoy more of that and get to visit your son. And I'm with you on the golf. I'm not a good golfer, but I do love it. What a beautiful setting and great way to get some exercise. So great activities there. All right, how about this? You're invited to speak at a career day at a high school, one of our local high schools, let's say. And what advice would you give students who are thinking about a career in law enforcement? I mean, think about yourself, at that point in your life, you're 17 or 18 years old, and you're trying to figure things out. What would you tell someone?
Yeah, I would like to, I want to be honest with them, first of all. It's a great job. Even now with everything, I wouldn't change anything, but I think it would be, you have to go into it with your eyes open. It's kind of taxing physically and mentally, and it demands a lot of your personal time, working weekends, working holidays. I've missed a lot of my kids' things growing up. So, but it's a balance. You don't want to scare anybody away because you want good candidates, but you also want them to come into it with fully realizing what the job entails. But other than that, I would tell them, the longer you're here, it's one of those things you think you've seen everything, you've done everything. That's never the case. Like I said, 27 years, going 28, I am humble enough to know I still have not seen everything because everything's always changing. I would tell them it's a very rewarding career. It's very good if you want some variety because, like you said, the day-to-day, there is no day-to-day. Every day is a new start. Every day is going to be different. You could handle a call one day. The next day, you could handle something, you're going to handle something completely different.
Yeah.
You could be running around for 12 hours, the first shift, the next shift you come on, and luckily it might be a little bit slower for call-wise, but so there's a lot of variety. So you won't get bored, you won't get you won't get tired of any kind of monotony or anything like that. So that I find, if that's what you think you want from your profession, then I think that this would be a good choice.
Yeah, very good advice. Especially, I mean, in a nutshell, eyes open. Know what you're getting yourself into if you want to pursue that. And you mentioned the mental, there's a physical dimension, there's a mental health dimension to your job. You know, how you handle it for your own well-being, but also how you handle some of the situations you're put into
Yes.
as well, right? So maybe we'll take that to one step further. So you've given that advice to a senior in high school who's thinking about it. Now you just hired, and I know we've hired a few in the last couple of years, new rookie officers. You know, and maybe you've actually had the conversation. What advice would you give to somebody brand new on the force, maybe getting hired with minimal experience, as well?
Yeah, see, that's an interesting one for me. I've been here so long. When I came in, it was more the traditional paramilitary thing. You come in, you put your time in, you don't ask questions, you learn the job and do what you do. Now there's been a complete shift, especially in law enforcement, about mental well-being, self-care, making sure, because if you're not ready to do what's required of you, you can't help anybody else when they're calling you. So I am on board with that. It's changed, so a little bit hard, but we're seeing the benefits. Like we have yearly mental health screenings with a professional the officers go to. Nothing that gets reported to us, but if they want to talk with somebody, it's available there. If they want to do anything like that, that's a big change for me, and that's what I would take that opportunity. Like, you have to take care of yourself, otherwise you can't. You want me to do your job well, which will be my responsibility. You're not gonna, have a good home life with a family if you have one or anything like that. Like, you can't do anything for yourself or for anybody else unless you're fully on board, unless you're wholly there. If you're not whole, you can't. If you keep cutting slices out to give to work and a slice to family and a slice to any of these things, nobody's getting 100% of you. So
there's going to be breakdowns of trouble.
And now the officers, I think the mentality shifted. Now you can do that. There's no stigma to asking for it or to doing it, which I think is definitely the right way to go now.
It seems like a tremendous direction to go in and I think about the old school kind of stuff you talked about before, but you will train them in the procedure and what to do in certain situations and their equipment and how to manage everything. But there is a well-being to this whole thing.
Yes.
For all that other stuff to work, you need to be a full, complete person who's managing your life in a healthy manner.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You ready for one last question?
Of course.
All right. So we're going to pretend that maybe this is the actual dream job, but let's pretend it's not the dream job. If you could have any other job, what would the other dream job be?
Oh boy. I'm too old to be a pilot now.
I'm not going to let you say another kind of officer.
No. You know what? I've loved my career. I've done it, but I think when I'm done with law enforcement, I'll probably be done with that. I'm a big history buff, so like everything I watch on TV, if I do watch, I don't watch a lot, but when I do, it's like the history type shows.
Sure.
Maybe like not like archaeology, like Indiana Jones. I just like history. I don't know, maybe going back at a history teaching certificate for like high school, something like that. I just like history because at this point now, doing what I've done, I understand it's got to be something you want to do. So that would be something that I think would be very easy. I could definitely see myself doing after for a while.
All right, I'd like a history teacher, history professor.
Yeah, exactly. Something.
Professor Crowley.
Yeah.
All right, I like it. Maybe we just give you a new nickname.
Maybe I can just make it. They can way over there. That's
professor.
fine. I think after they see this, that's what's going to be anyway. So I think we just did that.
All right. Well, Officer Crowley, thank you, or Deputy Chief Crowley, thank you very much for coming in, allowing us to meet you like this, and good luck with your career. If you ever get that dream job, I hope that happens for you. And I'm looking forward to a conversation with you about scams that citizens should
Me as well.
watch out for.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dave Worsley. You've been watching PHTV4, and we've been having a conversation with Deputy Chief Jeff Crowley from the Palos Heights Police Department. Thank you for watching.